I do think the mentality Fury has always shown us when he needs to be super focused, have that laser focus. I believe it might be there. My question is physically, is it there at this age?
It is time for Boxing Scene's top stories only on ProBox TV, your boxing channel. I am George D. Metellus. Quick reminder to download the ProBox TV app, where apps are available to get the great insights of our world champions. We have Chris Algieri, Paulie Malignaggi, and right near the beach, the great Showtime Sean Porter joining us here on Top Stories. Man, love that background, Sean. All right. Let's talk about what's going to go down in a month's time in Saudi Arabia. It is that rematch. It is Usyk Fury 2, and we all know that split decision victory for Usyk made him undisputed heavyweight champion for a little bit until the IBF took his belt, and eventually that belt found the waist of Daniel Dubois. All right, Sean, let's start with you here. We know that Fury has been mostly quiet going into this fight and doesn't have that same kind of intensity and vitriol for Usyk compared to the first fight. How does being humbled after that first fight shape the outcome, possible outcome of this fight?
You know, I really wouldn't say he's been humbled. I got to imagine they went back and watched the fight, him specifically, and just saw a moment where he was a little laxed and got caught. I think I truly do believe if he doesn't get caught in that moment that he probably wins the fight. I don't know if there was anything else that Usyk could have done to change the tide there. He got caught with that punch in that moment in that round, and I think he's just going to fix that. The quietness that we're seeing, if anything, I feel is just his focus on making sure that he capitalizes on the rematch. So I actually do expect him to win this rematch. I think he's bigger than Usyk, and that size advantage that he has, he, unlike most fighters, knows how to use that size, that reach, that speed. I think the whole fight will play out the way that the first half played itself out. I think the whole fight's going to go that way. A very focused and determined Fury is a quiet and relentless Fury.
Yeah, Paulie, what do you make of Fury's attitude compared to going into this fight compared to the first fight?
You know, I certainly think that he knows it's a must-win situation. You know, you're at this point, you're in your mid-30s, and you came off this huge loss. Even with that split decision loss, if you lose again, you get sent back into the sort of the pile of the heavyweights, the mix, and there's some dangerous fights in there. But you know, do you really want to go get thrown back into that pile at this point in time in your life, where you've made money, you're comfortable, and you're at a point where it's hard to rebuild at this age. So I do think the mentality Fury has always shown us when he needs to be super focused, have that laser focus. I believe it might be there. My question is physically, is it there at this age? You know, sometimes your mind wants to be there, but your body at a certain age may not be there. I don't know. You know, I really don't know. But I'll tell you what, he hasn't always lived a great life between fights and whatnot. So that sort of ages you faster, right? So let's see if he can get his mind right the way he seems to be getting. Can he bring the physical part of it into the ring at this age? You know, Sean Cham, you made a great point about the first part of the fight. Fury was doing a great job. But that was also, Usyk's response was also only a matter of time, because Usyk was consistently putting that mental pressure, cutting off the ring, pressure bust pipes. It was going to force a mistake. It was bound to force a mistake at a certain point. Fury never took advantage by backing up Usyk. He let Usyk continue to back him up, cut him off, and made him feel that strain and pressure, despite the fact that Fury was boxing well. But he was constantly having to feel that strain and that pressure, that mental anguish, and eventually it translated into an error. The pressure did bust the pipes, translated into an error, and from that error, Usyk was able to turn things around. Now, Champ, you made a good point. You know, Fury maybe being a bit more physical in this fight. If that's the case, the fight is going to be evolving in a bit of a different way. It's not just going to be Fury trying to touch and go and Fury trying to outbox Usyk the way he was early in the fight, because by doing that, you're going to allow Usyk to mentally pressure you the same way again and cause that discomfort that eventually leads to an error. So I do think that Fury will have to make some adjustments, and a piece of me thinks that it could be in the form of the way he made the adjustment against Wilder, where from the first to the second fight, he went from a boxer on the back foot to a physical guy on the front foot because he was so much bigger. I'm curious to see how that will play out against Usyk. I will say this, though. Usyk is not going to go as quietly as Wilder did.
All right, Chris, what are your thoughts on Tyson Fury's kind of change in attitude from the first fight heading into the second fight?
Well, being third man, I have to respond to both of you guys because you guys just make so many great points. What am I going to throw another point in there? No, I'm just going to respond to you guys. So I agree and disagree with both you guys as always. So Sean, I agree with you. I think this is Fury's fight to lose. You know, we saw how dominant he was in the beginning, in the middle of that last fight, and yeah, he made a mistake. He got cracked. He got hurt. And I do agree with you that if he doesn't get hurt in that situation, he probably wins that fight, probably pretty handily. But ultimately, if you ask me today, right now, I think Usyk does it again. I just think the guy is just Paul, you mentioned the pressure. Very, very different fighter than Wilder, because Fury's normally the guy who pressures guys and breaks them over time. Now he's got a guy who does it. He does it, and he does it better than him. And he puts that pressure, and he stays in your face, and he has so much will, does Usyk. I don't see that fading just yet. You know, I could see both versions. I could see Tyson going out there and doing what he did early in that fight and make it look easy and just get himself to a decision where he doesn't get hurt. But I also can absolutely see something similar to the last fight where Usyk gets him toward the end and is able to win enough rounds, even in the early and middle, to pull off the decision. Usyk's, man, he's a nightmare. He's just a trouble to deal with, a guy to get over him mentally. I think really with the thing about Usyk is his will. The guy refuses to lose, and I just don't know how he can be beaten yet. Until this gets beaten, I don't see the man getting beat. So we'll see. Ask me in a couple weeks, it might be different, but you know, we're right around the corner. Right now, I'm feeling like Usyk is going to do it again.
Yeah, that was going to be my next question to you three champions there. Who, as of right now, and of course, you have the reserve, I'm going to put it out there right now, you have the right to reserve to change your opinion here as we get closer to the fight. But
flip-flopping.
Yeah, well, yeah, okay, we want to call it that. Right now, Sean, who do you have winning this fight and why?
Yeah, I felt I was a little premature when I mentioned it in my first statement, but I do feel that this, like just what Chris said, this is Fury's fight to lose, and the reason why I say that is I think that he has so many things in his arsenal that makes him, for the sake of words, the dominator in this fight. He just has to dominate, and he can't allow himself to get caught off guard. The other great point that Chris made is the fact that if you can't beat Usyk here, then you just you ultimately at some point you end up losing it. That happened to Tyson in the first fight. I'm willing to bet that this focus that we're seeing from him now is a focus that he didn't have in the first fight. He knew the fight was going to play the way it played out. As it was doing that, he got a little laxed. What he's doing now is he's making sure that he's focused enough that moment doesn't happen again. I'm saying Tyson Fury wins the rematch.
All right, Paulie, what do you think? As of right now, who wins the fight and why?
I think Fury has a history of showing us he can surprise us with different things that he's going to try and different things that he does. You know, no one really expected him to do what he did in the Klitschko fight. No one really expected him to come back in the Wilder rematch and fight the way he did after the first fight. A lot of people thought he won that first fight just by boxing the way he did. So nobody expected him to have to be the one to come up with some changes in his style. And he did and dominated the second fight. And then, of course, they had an epic third fight. I think that third fight doesn't get talked about enough. That was an epic third fight between Wilder and Fury, an amazing trilogy there. But as much as he surprises us, I think Usyk is just a robot as far as what he does, you know. And I think that even if you're going to be physical against Usyk, you're going to have to deal with a guy who times you coming in. You're not just going to be able to decide, I'm going to walk right to him and be physical the way he did to Wilder, because Usyk's footwork is a bit better than Wilder's footwork. So he can sort of offset that and time you coming in. You're going to have to earn that distance, even if you're a physically bigger guy. And are you willing to, at this age, are you willing and able to, you know, get through that? I think the fight is going to be a fight that plays out a bit different than the first fight in terms of the way it evolves, but I still lean towards Usyk.
Yeah, certainly it's going to be fascinating to see what happens December 21st, exactly a month from today. That rematch well, it won't be undisputed, but it'll certainly be a great fight between Fury and Usyk. And of course, we will get some reactions for you here on Top Stories. Remember to scan the QR code, like, subscribe, and leave your comments on our YouTube channel. Download the ProBox TV app where apps are available, because on YouTube and on the app, you can see the continuation of our Contender Series. December 7th, ProBox TV returns to Ireland. Some great fights on December 7th on the app and on YouTube as well. I am George DeMatteis, and this is Boxing Scene's Top Stories.
ProBox TV Contender Series. On December 7th, look for an all-out Irish war as Dylan the Real Deal Moran battles Tyrone the Mighty Celt McKenna at the top of a stacked ProBox-worthy card.
For more ProBox TV, scan the QR code on the screen or go to the App Store and Google Play. ProBox TV, your boxing channel.